Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Robotic Strategy Forum 2020, the second consecutive edition of Robotic Strategy Forum organized by the Professional Association of Robotics and Automation. My name is Jonko Chuklev and I am the Deputy Chairperson of the association. Today, we're streaming live from Sofia Tech Park and you'll have the chance to hear multiple interesting insights and perspectives in the field of robotics from a policymaking, industry, and education perspective. Joining me for the opening of the forum is the Executive Director of the Bulgarian Small and Medium Enterprises Promotion Agency, Mr. Boyko Takov. Mr. Takov, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you very well.
Thank you very much for joining us. Can you share your review of the year and what do you think is next for the Bulgarian innovation sector and economy?
Well, first of all, thanks for inviting me in this forum, which I appreciate a lot. And as you know, we are supporting para from the beginning. I would like to point out a few numbers about the SMEs, of course, and I would say a few words and for the buyers for the SMEs. First of all, interesting numbers that I would like to share with you. At European Union level, SMEs employ more than 100 million people and produce more than half of Europe's GDP. Bulgarian small and medium-sized enterprises account for 75.7% of total employment and for 65.3% of the value added in the economy in 2018. They are of great importance for the growth and the competitiveness of the European and Bulgarian economy. In principle, SMEs are seen as a driver for innovative solutions to challenge related to climate change and resource efficiency. In the period 2008-2018, the share of the Bulgarian enterprises in high-tech manufacturing and knowledge-intensive services has increased from 15.5% to 19.8%. And the growth is projected to continue in the next years. The share of persons employed in these economic activities has increased in a similar pattern from 15.7% in 2008 to 18.6% in 2018. And there are indications of potential growth to 19.4% in 2020. However, the percentage in this total value added of these enterprises is substantially higher. It increased from 22.3% to 26.6% for the same period, and expectation shows that in 2020, this year, the value of the indicator will reach 27.7%. Of course, there are a lot of a range of barriers in adopting ICTs and other digital technologies, like limited human and organizational capital, insufficient digital and technology skills, lack of resources to train the necessary ICT operating workers, lack of know-how about advanced ICTs, lack of trust in the digital economy, etc. Other barriers to SMEs digitalization include security and privacy concerns, as well as associated costs combined with limited financial resources. There seem to be insufficient understanding to the essence and benefits of digitalization and implementation of latest technologies among SMEs. This leads to inability to articulate a clear business case that takes into account the costs of digitizing, but also the relevant gains related to productivity, saving, exchange, quality of operations, and new business opportunities. Consequently, there is a need to raise the awareness among entrepreneurs and managers about the positive impact that implementation of digital technologies and solutions may bring, including by sharing success stories and good practices. Another perspective on related risk and mitigation strategies, including in cybersecurity and data privacy, would strengthen the level of confidence and trust that is needed to stimulate actions. Finally, there should be accessible training options targeted at the digital upskilling of SMEs and raising the level of relevant human resources capacity within the SME organizations in order to narrow the identified skills gap. And this is maybe one of our jobs as SME agency to work with such kind of organization like Para to work in this direction, to help the SMEs to upgrade their skills and their knowledge about the new technologies and robotics, of course. So I wish a lot of success to all of participants in today's forum, and we really believe in such kind of organizations that will help to our companies.
So, very much for your support, Mr. Takov. For sure, we'll continue our collaboration going forward.
I hope so. It will be a pleasure for us.
For us as well. Thank you very much. This was Mr. Bojko Takov, Executive Director of the Bulgarian Small and Medium Enterprises Executive Promotion Agency. Going forward, we do agree that small and medium companies were the backbone of the Bulgarian innovative sector. However, this year has been one of the most dynamic years, it's safe to say, on record. More than 3 billion people around the globe were facing lockdowns associated with the coronavirus situation in March and April. Again, globally, we had over 1.2 billion children studying remotely, and in this new environment, it seemed that remote work became the new normal, with countries such as the United Kingdom actually indicating that 60% of the adult workforce was working remotely. This trend was further enhanced by companies such as Microsoft and Twitter, which indicated that their employees may work remotely permanently. In this new environment, it seemed that life had changed for good. It was easy to be a pessimist. However, we from the Professional Association of Robotics and Automation, we chose a different path. We joined the global entrepreneurs and executives, which used any technology from robotics to AI to improve the current situation. We do believe that technology can further contribute not only to the growth of the economy, but to the global humanitarian situation and how we can cope with any challenges going forward. This year, the Professional Association of Robotics and Automation has assisted the Bulgarian tech scene by making the first interactive map of clubs and academies teaching robotics and teaching STEM education and new technology. We also facilitated cooperation between these clubs. We organized the biggest robotics forum in Bulgaria last month in September, again here in Sofia Tech Park, Robo Days 2020. We participated in the making of the first COVID safety checklist, which was applicable both to companies and to additional institutions. We established the first robotics club here in Sofia Tech Park, and we joined the Export Hub, which was an initiative by the Bulgarian small and medium enterprise promotion agencies. The Bulgarian robotics sector also had an interesting dynamic this year, and a number of developments have begun. First, in the city of Pleven, we had Bulgarian surgeons which took the unprecedented decision to operate a patient remotely through a robot. The patient managed to recover, and robots also started playing a huge role in the education of medical students in the city. Disinfection robots have been developed by the Bulgarian Academy of Sciences and by Sofia Tech Park's AI and CAD Systems Laboratory in cooperation with two companies. We had some of our exhibitors today which started making new interesting developments as well. We had Giga Automata, who are our exhibitors today, and they started the first serial production of Bulgarian collaborative robots. We have Schneider Electric Bulgaria, who are operating the first smart factory in the country and are going to share the results from its operation today in the forum. We have Bulgarian IoT company Alterco Robotics, who developed smart solutions coping with the virus. And at the same time, automation remained a hot topic in the Bulgarian industry. In case my colleagues can share insights from the latest para inquiry in the Bulgarian industry, we saw that automation was playing a crucial role, and in spite of the pandemic, it remained a hot topic. Now, we asked companies, has the pandemic affected your plans, your investment plans for automation? The reply we got is that 41% of the companies said that actually the situation with the coronavirus slowed down their plans. Sometimes it's because of the fact that their vendors are in a difficult situation, and sometimes it's because of different reasons. 9% of companies said that their plans are permanently delayed, and we have 19% of companies which said that basically their automation plans are not delayed at all, 12% who are still not clear, and we have 90% of the companies we used to call heroes, who even the pandemic situation has speeded up their automation plans. Now, we asked, what type of automation are you considering? And the most popular answer we got with a 44% percentage was both discrete and software automation. Software automation of production was the second most popular chosen option with 28%, and discrete automation was ranked next with 22%, and just 6% of companies said that basically their plans are delayed. Now, asking which activity would you like to automate, the top answer is the same as last year. Production is the activity most companies would love to automate, followed by data collection and processing, administration, quality assurance, packaging, and R&D. One of our favorite questions, budgets for automation. Asking what your budget for automation in the next 3 years is. The top answer we got was obviously above 5,000 euros. We had 16% of the companies which did not have defined budgets because of the situation, and actually we had quite a few which had small automation budgets, which is understandable for small economies like ours, which small enterprises play a crucial role. When asked what type of robots could assist your production, robots helping with the assembly of components were the top choice, followed by inspection robots and robots for loading and filling, as well as varnishing and collaborative robots, which obviously have their role to play in the Bulgarian manufacturing sector. What's your main drive for investments in robotics? Same as last year, increased quality was the top reason why companies in Bulgaria invest in robotics and automation. Cost optimization is the second most popular option, productivity increase the third one, and lack of labor force is the fourth most popular option why actually companies invest in robots and automation. The profile of those companies is as follows. Most of the companies that actually participated in the para survey are up to 50 people, which means that they are small enterprises. And the second biggest category are actually the big enterprises, which are above 500 people. And in the middle, we have a lot of companies between 50 and 150 people. And we have some companies which are between 150 and 300 people. Now, the dynamic was not just in the Bulgarian innovation and automation sector, it was in the whole region. Most of you know that Microsoft announced their plans for opening a cloud hub in Greece. At the same time, in Romania, the robotic process automation company UiPath is planning a listing on one of the biggest stock exchanges, which is going to be one of the biggest tech success stories in the region. And in Serbia, NVIDIA announced their plans to create an AI platform in the country. Those and additional interesting topics you can hear today, and now we're about to dig even deeper in those trends and present you with some of the most interesting speakers in the region and in the industry. Please stay tuned with us. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first panel of Robotic Strategy Forum 2020, where we're going to discuss the robotics sector in Central and Eastern Europe. Let me introduce to you my panelists. Joining us today is Ana Maria Stancu, who is the founder of service robotics company Bucharest Robots, and currently the only Eastern European acting on the board of the general organization Eurobotics. Ana Maria, can you hear us?
Yes, hello.
Hi, Ana Maria. Joining me today in Sofia Tech Park is Mr. Hristo Giliștarov, who is the manager of FNUC Bulgaria. Mr. Giliștarov, hello.
Good morning. Bună ziua, Ana Maria.
And joining us online also is Professor Zoran Jelicic, who is a professor at the University of Novi Sad in the technical faculty of the university. Zoran, can you hear us right?
Yes, I can hear you. Just a second, I'll rejoin you with the picture in a moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning to all. Seems we are ready to kick off. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me start off with the first question. How does the future of our region look like? And generally, can we increase the value our industry is currently creating?
Let's start maybe from Bulgaria, because we are situated from here. First of all, I would like to thank you to Professional Association of Robotics and Automation in Bulgaria for the great initiative and idea. This is actually, this event is one of the steps to improve and to increase automation and robotization visibility in all countries, and because now we are discussing about the region, also in the whole region. And the idea of this discussion to bring, as we discuss in the preliminary discussion, to have positive message to the industry, to look into our area in more details, let's say, because we have very good engineers here, we have very good opportunities, we have very good history, industrial history, and our industry is developing and moving forward. However, we are somehow besides the mainstream of main investors in Europe, and this is the great opportunity to send a message to decision makers to look into our area.
Zoran, what do you think the future of the region looks like?
Okay, thank you for opportunity to speak on your panel. Well, that's very interesting. And right now I have a hard feeling that we are all influenced in the region by this coronavirus. And excellent topic right now is how coronavirus is influencing our industry right now. And from my perspective, because this is my very fresh impress, because a few days we have a meeting on a subject like this with the industry, and that's very kind of challenging topic. The industry is completely divided. One part of industry is stopping everything, their investments, waiting what will happen. The other part of industry, more healthy one, mainly in food process industry and things like that, are currently investing a lot in our kind of industry, automation, robotics, because they were trying to improve their production and, of course, to, let's say, minimize human effort in production. So that's kind of very interesting perspective right now from my point of view, how they will go with the coronavirus. The coronavirus will be here in at least for 1 year. So that's perspective we are thinking about right now.
Anna Maria, what do you think the future of our region looks like?
Hello, good morning, first of all. I think it depends very much on us. At this moment, I don't believe it looks very good, as our countries are mostly at the end of tops regarding automation. But I think if we can make an alliance or do something together, things might change. If we continue talking, we will talk about possible solutions in this regard, but I strongly believe that we need to be more active. Like you mentioned, I'm the only representative of robotics in Central and Eastern Europe, in Eastern Europe, in EU robotics. And I think this is relevant because so far our needs or expertise wasn't that visible to the European Commission. I believe there in our countries there are pools of people that can contribute with a lot of expertise in this field, just that in robotics, unlike software, you need much more financing to start a project. which our country doesn't have at this moment. Governments are struggling to make different schemes to help robotics, but so far, from what I saw, it's not working yet. I think we can actually, besides our companies, I think we can make a common effort and do something for the regional development of robotics.
I do agree that basically our region is lagging in a lot of aspects. But in relation to this question, I would like to ask the question, which sectors in our countries actually have a high level of automation? Maybe again, starting with Hristo, which sectors in Bulgaria do you think have a high level of automation and robotics implementation?
Again, we are not, let's say, excluding from the mainstreams, as Zoran said, about food industry, metal machinery, automation in terms of car manufacturing, components, etc., which is actually increasing lately. But again, what Anna Maria said, if there is an investor, there is a few examples in Bulgaria when big investors are implementing production lines here in Bulgaria, their level of automation is very high. So it's depending on the industry. For example, if we look into the growing food industry right now, I can give you an example from Greece, for example. All food industry is flourishing right now. Plastic industry also. So there are sectors which are benefiting from coronavirus. Mm-hmm. Of course, there are sectors which are not benefiting from coronavirus. So we need to look into that perspective, which industry will continue to develop after the coronavirus crisis, which is not over. We are, I believe, yes, in the beginning only. So detailed analysis, I believe, will help us for the future, where we can be more attractive for investors in terms of automation here in our area.
Zoran, which sectors in Serbia do you think have a high level of automation? You mentioned the food industry as a relevant example. Can you say, can you think of any additional?
Of course I can, but first I completely agree with Anna Maria, the previous statement about robotics and automation. You need, it can't be mixed with the software industry. Software industry could be self-made, but you have a lot of knowledge, a lot of investment in the robotics industry. But concerning this question, except food industry, which is very vital in this period, we can make distinction. Distinction goes like this. You have plug-and-play solution with both technology, and that's mostly in metal industry, things like that. In that kind of industry, you have high level of automation, high level of robotics. There is another part of industry, which is of course automotive industry, things like that is the first part. And the other part are industry that are kind of traditional, and they need huge input in automation and robotics. This is food processing industry and chemical industry, of course, petrol business as well. Those industries are very interesting for us in the following period, because in those industry, because of the safety hazards, things like that, we really expect highest impact and high investments.
Anna Maria, which sectors in Romania do you think have a high level of automation?
Definitely the automotive sector. And I also saw a great use of soldering industrial robots, but basically it's industrial robots. I mean, the service robots market, it's not there. But on the other hand, it's not that much present in other countries either. We now have a lot of software automation because we have a company, a decacorn it's called now. It's past the unicorn phase. It's called UiPath, and it's robotic process automation, is software automation. But basically, these are the two main, the three main things that we have in Romania. It was mentioned before, the food processing. We have some slaughterhouses who are completely automated. I visited one which was completely automated. I mean, they had like just 50 people there, and everything else was robotized and automatized. And we also have a warehouse, which is the larger in Eastern Europe, which is also totally automatized. So, but these are just small examples, exceptions. Most of them are in automotive because they can afford, or and from my point of view, what matters is the fact that they usually bring robots from developed countries, I mean from Western countries, and they bring their own specialists here and they implement it. So basically the expertise for the local is not that high. Or the idea is that when you make the investment, you don't do it with local money. You actually use local money to buy from other countries, and this, from my point of view, might be an issue, since you could have here some locals who could do that.
Now, an interesting thing is that actually all of you three mentioned automotive as one of the sectors with a high level of automation. Now, we're hearing forecasts that actually this sector is experiencing a significant drop both in production and demand because of the coronavirus. So my question, a bit provocative, but what could be next for the region after automotive?
This is really a good question, and I believe everybody is asking himself or others what will be the next step. And nevertheless, we are now in a field where uncertainty, there is a great uncertainty in industry, in the future development, etc. So it's very difficult to predict. However, what we can say that automation and robotization will grow up. Simply saying that by robotization and automation, we will minimize human interaction with the things, things which are produced, and this will be more and more important for the future, definitely, because after the virus, we will pay attention if the simple things which we are buying have been touched by somebody or not due to hygienic, simple hygienic criteria. So food industry, definitely, how I see from my personal perspective, countries in the area, they will try to be more independent from centralized, let's call it centralized supply chains in terms of hygienic materials, food, some goods which are for the daily use of the country. So localization, more localization of the production of such kind of goods will increase in order to increase countries' independence. So we should look into that direction. How this will evolve, I'm not sure, of course. Nobody can be sure, so this is my opinion.
Zoran, apart from the industries in the field of food, sanitization materials, what could be next for the region apart from automotive? What big industry could you potentially see in our region?
Okay, that's a very good question. Well, I really don't know the answer. I really don't know the answer. I was thinking hard, but pretty much automotive industry is in the biggest challenge right now. And it's a very complex system that includes from both machinery building to software engineers. It's kind of be a huge trouble. But there is another issue, just I want to mention. Now in automation and robotics, we have new key selling strategy. the new key selling strategy is safety. So invest in your safety, invest in automation, invest in robotics. People will be safe. You will have safe food. You will have safe production, things like that. I think it's kind of interesting selling point right now. I remember example 25 years ago. I think I was in US, and new guy come from US Steel, and he wanted to make major changes in company, and he said, okay, my first priority is safety. So with the term of safety, he did pretty much everything, mostly in automation and robotics, but he established new rules, actually cut the jobs. That's not correct, but he did it. But in terms of safety. So I'm thinking about whole industries right now. If they are trying to invest or to push them invest, I think the safety is a key selling point right now. Not just safety in the ordinary sense, don't cut while doing something, don't hurt yourself while you're working in the factory, but safety as you don't need people, people doesn't have contact with your food, things like that. It could be very interesting right now. But to the first question, what industry would be challenged right now? Probably civil engineering and industry concerning with that, concrete production, things like, because people are not working right now in that manner as usual. So thank you.
Anna Maria, what do you think could be the next big industry in the region after automotive?
What we're focusing right now, because we believe this could be the main ideas to go with, it's agriculture, precision agriculture, and constructions. If you look during the pandemics, the constructions didn't stop. They were the workers were still building during the pandemic, so that was one industry that wasn't that much affected by what happened. And also agriculture wasn't affected by what happened, because the demand for agricultural products has gone up during the pandemics. It was the only good that the people were looking for. And I think this might be the two direction. And I also believe that service robots will be the next step. Like Zoran mentioned before, it will be very important not to touch people, not to touch food. So basically, these sorts of robots, service robots, might be used in hospitals or in hypermarkets or other places where people shouldn't take that much contact with either patients or with food that goes to the people. What we found out during the pandemics was that although we have lots of robots that were built, research during Horizon projects, these robots were just in universities or companies that developed them. They weren't in the hospital per se. So the major idea is that if we have these sorts of robots, let's deploy them. Otherwise, we just did them for research, which from my point of view, it's not very constructive. So that's why I truly believe in service robots. That's I might be subjective since I'm running a company in this field, but this is the reason why, because I believe this is the I think the service robots market will increase. I don't think it will reach the industrial one, the industrial robots market, because that's already very well established, but I think it's going that way. And I also believe in agri-tech and constructions.
Now, another hot topic recently, especially in our region, has been nearshoring. My question is, can robots and automation technologies help us transfer supply chains from Asia more to our region? Christy, what do you think?
I think that low level of robotization in our area from one side is a bad thing or not very good sign to the investor. From another side, this is also very good sign, because there is plenty of room to develop local knowledge local production, we have free room for to produce or to substitute supply chains coming out from Asia to Europe, and I believe this should somehow happen, because unfortunately are behind a lot of politics. It's not just a business, a lot of politics behind, and if it's a pure business, and I believe that the investors will look more thoroughly in our area, in our countries, and this is the point of this meeting, actually, to show them that we have good knowledge, we have good people. The most important, we are open to accept any new ideas. So this is the point, just to show that we have perspective and we're open for those perspectives.
Zoran, would you say Serbia is open for nearshoring?
Well, that's a good question. Serbia is open, definitely, from my perspective, but of course, it's a lot about politics. We have now in politics a very tight connection with the East, with the China, things like that. So we have huge influence in industry by them. That Belt Road, that is one of the keystones on that Belt Road with the China, is Serbia. So we have huge input. We have huge input from the Chinese companies, but actually that could be good. That could be good in a sense. There is a demand, there is a market for something, okay? Now, if you open market with the cheap solutions or not so cheap solution from the East, well, probably after a while you make demand for something that is more sophisticated, something that is smart, something that have to be done locally, something that is tailor-made solution for robotics. And then I think that is a position for a regional. I'm not saying, I'm definitely saying regional cooperation to solve this problem and offer some decent solution for the industry. So basically, from East, we'll have very cheap solution, but it will make demand for such kind of solution, and more sophisticated solution, tailor-made solution, have to be developed locally. I mean regionally, and that could be a good strategy for us, actually. And I completely agree. Second time to say with Anna Maria, services robots are perfect opportunities, and we have just to make that connection from the research to industry, which is always a problem. We have cool solutions from H10 2020 programs, things like that. They were actually never implemented globally. So basically, input demand for robots is a cool thing, even coming from China. After a while, I think we have to focus on some more sophisticated solutions that have to be made locally. Thank you.
Anna Maria, do you see nearshoring as a hot trend in Romania going forward?
It's not yet, but I see it as a potential. And I'm looking at the robotics market and trends also. And I will give you an example of, I think it's Nike who moved their factory from China to US. They robotized, they automated everything, and they moved the factory from China in one of the American states because of what Zoran said. They need more personalized and more attention to what they are doing. And it's easier if you have it in-house. And I think this is the trend right now. China will always beat us at pricing. We discussed that in our previous talk, and we can all agree on that. But I think the difference it's made in personalizing the solutions that we give, and also making it very quality. We are distributing a disinfection robot that is made in Denmark. They started making it 3 years ago. But when the pandemics came, of course, we saw lots of replicas. 3 of them, I think, three that I know are from China. I can tell you that the quality is not the same. The price is a lot lower, but the quality is not the same. So basically, I think this is where we can make the difference, and making the solution tailored for the clients here. It makes a big difference to have someone to call which is on pretty much the same time as you are, and not wait for China to wake up, or for US or something like that. On the other hand, looking at the prices, I also have to mention that US, it's a lot more expensive, because they do it for the US market, which has higher prices. And when they try to sell in Europe, for example, they become really expensive compared to what's being done in Europe. So we need to look at all these factors. And from my point of view, and this is what I'm trying to communicate to the European Commission, let's look at the market, because there's no point investing in something that it won't sell when you say that you want to use the funds for competitiveness. The reason, I mean, you can be competitive if you can sell a lot and put more money in the European Commission. If we do something that doesn't sell, we're not reaching this goal. So I think we need an overview of everything that's happened, not just China, but also US, and see how things are going, and what solution do we have so that we can be competitive on the market.
Now, there's been a lot of talk that actually our region is not so strong in solutions, and that we're not even tier 1 providers to multinationals. We're mostly tier 2 providers. My question is, can we become tier 1 providers, develop our own solutions, and be competitive against the Chinese, for example? Mr. Gilistarov, what would you say?
That's also the goal of, let's say, of our government and automotive society in Bulgaria, let's say, to level up the tier levels in Bulgaria. But I would like to go a little bit below this question, because the biggest question, if we go back into our industry, let's say 10 years ago, when investors are looking for automated solution or robotized solution, they're trying to get the expertise from abroad, which means abroad means better quality, better price, maybe, I don't know. Lately, the trend in Bulgaria, for example, is reversing. Local producer, they start to look into the local solution, into the local engineers. And if we go back to the previous topic, I believe the local solutions are those which will create the strong attractiveness to investors to move out supply chains from Asia to our area. This is what we need to focus on. That's why the answer is there. If we want to move on the upper level, we'll need to develop our local knowledge, local ability to create solutions, and of course openness of the business to looking for local solutions. I believe this is the key point.
Facts. Zoran, would you agree that leveling up from tier 2 suppliers to tier 1 and known solutions is the right path for countries, and is this the way we can stay competitive?
Yes, actually, we were talking about that a lot. Well, if I may, just to give a small example to privatize a little bit, my faculty is famous for spin-off companies. We have, let's say, more than 100 spin-off companies that are in charge for IT and some kind of implementation solution like that, automation control as well. So what is the idea? We have to focus on knowledge-intensive jobs. We have in the region to cut the idea of people, sorry for disturbing, we have to cut let's say, those people-intensive job, we can't be competitive with the China, India, things like that in this kind of jobs. And we have some kind of good results in that, if I may note. We have good results, for example, if I may say so, for all TVs with Android platform actually had a software from Novi Sad. All TVs around the world. And that's kind of key selling point. So what is the idea? We have to make a synergy. We have to make synergy in research. We have to make, and then just kind of local consortium like your initiative actually, and then to focus on really knowledge-intensive jobs to sell, let's say, custom-made solution, not to do just outsourcing in the field of the automation, robotics, or IT. So that change could not be easy. It won't be in a month or 1 year, but actually that is a process that we have to participate. So from my perspective, once again, knowledge-intensive jobs, a lot of research, investment in research. It's paid in Novi Sad, in my region, in northern Serbia. And finally, I think we'll have good results in that.
Maria, how do you see Tier 2 suppliers leveling up to Tier 1 and even own and customize solutions in Romania? Are you seeing this transfer, and how can it be done easily?
I don't think this is possible without the support of authorities. When I started in this field like 3 years ago, I talked to an investor and I told them I'm going into robotics. I also started RoboHub, so it was mainly about the fact of teaching robotics to kids. And we started discussing about the fact that companies in Romania do only outsourcing. And I was wondering why they are not using the profit to also build their own products. And the answer was that companies don't want to risk their profit to invest it in something that might or might not work. They want to keep the profit and do the outsourcing as much as it's possible. The problem in Romania is that the IT salaries were increasing before Corona. Now it's changing a little bit. But the salaries were increasing and we weren't competitive anymore with other markets. This will become a problem for the IT companies in Romania. They will not be competitive anymore for outsourcing, so they will find themselves that they didn't invest in their own products for going to market, and they won't have any more outsourcing contracts. My point is that companies will not invest in this. At least from what I saw, they won't do it. So basically, you need the state to intervene and help develop this industry. And if you look at China, most of the robotics companies are subsidized by state in one way or another. I'm also looking in Russia. The Russian government is investing a lot in this. I can give you the example of the humanoid robot that we have. It was developed with a grant of 1 million euros from the Russian government. And after they did the first prototype, they sold 50 of them to the Polytechnical in Russia. So basically, they not only finance you to do the research, they also finance so you can sell it and be sustainable. And afterwards, they help them. They had also events at the Russian embassy in US to help them make sales. So basically, I don't think this is something that can be done only by companies, no matter how big they are. Let's say they are not a startup like us, but even larger companies are not willing to invest this much because they don't know much about robotics. They only see some predictions on how this will go. And it's a very thin line between a robot that will sell and one that won't. So I don't think they are that willing to invest their money in something that might or might not be profitable.
I definitely agree that risk is one of the weak parts in leveling up in the value chain. Now, when we're discussing difficulties in implementing robots and autonomous technologies in the region, what do you think are the main challenges for a company in our region which wants to implement robots? Mr. Gilishtarov?
The main challenge, of course, are people, and the level of knowledge of those people available on the labor market. I believe this is a common issue for all countries in Europe, in US, doesn't matter. Actually, we are seeing transformation of knowledge and competencies right now because what we see, we have in Bulgaria a lot of outsourcing IT companies, which is great, but they're attracting most of the young engineers, which is good as well. Mm-hmm. But then for production industry, we have lack of good engineers. We have a great engineers, but their number is not sufficient in order to create breakthrough solutions, let's say, to saturate industry with the proper engineers. This is from one side. From another side, the industry itself still lacking to attract young engineers. So we need to look both ways, going to educational level, mm-hmm. Then what is the demand from the industry, and make them both sides to go in the same direction. This is the biggest challenge, I believe. Mm-hmm. Not the technical solutions, because this is common constraints for everybody. You have 6-axis robot and you can do certain things with that. You cannot do more than that. So, but you need somebody who will be able to program, operate, maintain this robot. Without the person which will be able to do those things, the robot is just a piece of metal as any other machine. That's why we need to focus on that perspective, how to increase the level of knowledge and competence in our area. I believe this is the key point. Mm-hmm. Not investments. Investments are the second reason. The first thing is the competence level.
Mm-hmm. Professor Jelicic, what do you think is the main challenge for companies which are wishing to automate and implement robots in Serbia?
Actually, I could not agree more with the previous observation. It's all about people. Actually, we have that strange influence from IT that is actually taking all the possible jobs, engineering jobs. Right now, it's not so those jobs are not so creative, but they're actually stealing people from the industry, and we need new people in the industry, new way of thinking in industry. It's not a problem. It's not about even investment. It's about a way of thinking, to change a way of thinking people in industry. Well, interesting would be what is a new trend actually, what we can see in industry. There are some rumors about Industry 4.0, so they're kind of interesting for that, and we can make a demand for that from them to, let's say, to challenge them to invest in something like that. But actually, I think the biggest issue, you need quality feedback with education in industry, because people in the industry are, let's say, more traditional, not hiring too many young people, not gaining knowledge, because in industry you have a very reasonable way of thinking. It's working, I'm earning money, I don't want to change anything. That's common way of thinking people in industry. It could be changed with young educated people. Definitely it could be changed, but young educated people mostly go in IT business actually right now. That's, I think, common problem in the region. So I could not agree more. That is gaining knowledge in industry is the trickiest point right now. Thank you.
Anna Maria, a bit more specific, what do you think are the main challenges for implementing service robots, which you're well aware of in Romania?
Well, from our point of view, the biggest challenge is the return on investment. While for industrial robots, you already have study cases and you have platforms that can show you precisely how much economy you are making, how much money you're saving because you're using a robotic arm. For service robots, you don't have that. That's because the price of a robot, of a service robot right now, it's pretty high for our countries, and salaries are very low. So when you calculate the return of investment, you find that you get a return for your investment in 7-8 years, while in Western countries, you get it in 1 or 2 years, for example. But that's because the cost of the salary is a lot higher in these countries. What we were suggesting, for example, for the European Union is to start a deployment program for service robots. This way you can increase the production here in Europe, and if you increase the production, there are chances that the price will be lowered, and also get people to understand what service robots are used for and how they can be used. For example, I had a client who wanted a service arm, which is pretty much like the industrial one, just that it can be programmed on a computer and it can be put, for example, easier in a coffee shop, let's say, not in a huge cafeteria, but in a coffee shop. And he wanted us to, for the robot, to put the thing of the expressor, to take it and put it in the machine, to turn it, then leave the whatever supply we could make to do that, put it down, take the glass, put the coffee in and give it to the client. And I was like, okay, this is not how a robot works, and do this in less time than a human. I was like, it can do stuff faster than a human, but only if it does the same thing. If you want it to change, I don't know what, it will take some time. Plus that you can't make it, if it does several moves, you need to be sure that it doesn't slam into anything, so it can't be accelerated too much. And that's just one example, because people, most of them don't have education in this field. I mean, they didn't even see a robotic arms, because how many of us go into a factory to see how a robotic arms works? And they don't yet internalize the information to understand how they can use it in their process. One of the digital innovation hubs, DH Square, had a call for automatizing some processes for small businesses. And they were calling us and say, we would like to automatize. And I was like, okay, what processes do you think would be viable for this? And they were like, we don't know. And we asked them, okay, explain to us what are your processes, and we will evaluate which of them can be automated. I mean, which of them have only one thing or two things to do that a robot could take the place of a person. Otherwise, it's not feasible. And these are the main challenges that I see here. We are trying to do education in this field, and we also talk to the we have a digital agency in Romania. We were talking before COVID to do a campaign in this regard to explain to people about automation and robots, but that is halted now because of the fact we can't move anymore. I truly believe in caravans. I tried them with kids, and I believe adults will react the same. It's to see and touch and have a feeling of what robots can do and cannot do, because it's also important to show them what they can't do.
Now, in relation to that question, I have to ask, we discussed a lot the engineering capabilities of the people in the region. We discussed, obviously, our history in robotics, but how can we unleash the potential of our region? What's the key that could actually unlock this potential we have? Christy, what do you think?
I think it's simple. We need to be more loud. We need to shout out what we can do and what we cannot do, exactly as with robotics. But really, we need to be very good in promoting ourselves. And I believe we are lacking in that perspective. And yeah, we are trying 30 years to go out from the government, but now we really need our governments to look into that perspective, to be more loud, because without explaining to the rest of the world our capabilities, how great are our engineers, how good potential we have in that area, we cannot achieve by single efforts. So we need to unite our effort as a society, and on the top of our society, fortunately or unfortunately, there are governments, and we need to look for their support as well. So we need to be more loud.
Zoran, what would you say is the key to unleashing the potential of our region?
Definitely being loud, or it's popular to say marketing. We need to present success stories to, let's say, challenge people with those solutions, and to be loud and to have very good education in that area. Probably some kind of regional project would be a very good thing. A very good thing, because we have similar issues, similar problems, a similar level of knowledge in that area. So regional project, being loud, that means marketing and presenting successful stories in industry that could help a lot. Anna Maria mentioned the caravans that they're having things like that. Being loud, definitely, it is our greatest potential.
Mm-hmm. Anna Maria, how can we unleash the potential of the region?
I know I come as obsessed, but that only comes from the feedback from our activities. It's a government strategy and funds. Yes, it is true. We can say how great our experts are, but we need to show this. If you don't have a product, if you don't have startups who made it on the market, it's all about selling. So that you can understand, I come from an NGO field. I worked in NGOs for 20 years. So theoretically, I'm rather idealistical. But when you play in business, it's all about money. I'm sorry to say that, but that's what moves it. And you need to do a product that will sell. You need to do a product that clients will look you up for it. If we have some startups that can do that, I can tell you that it will be a lot easier to be louder and observed. As long as we don't have that, it's very easy just to say we have experts and they do very good stuff. It's nice, but at the end of the day, they want to see also the profit. This is everything we're talking about. And we were talking about education. And again, I'm sorry to talk about money, but for example, there are very good people here in Romania in robotics who cannot afford more than an Arduino. So they are trying to do robotics with Arduino, which is like 40 euros to buy it, while others in Germany or other countries are playing with LiDARs, which is very expensive. How do you expect people here to learn about LiDARs and SLAM and humanoid robots if they cannot afford to have the tools to work with? So basically, it's all about financing and the government having a strategy. What we try to do, for example, with robotic classes, was to convince school, and we did this in a few schools, to use small robots or microbits to teach easier programming and introduction to robotics, because it's a lot more attractive for kids if they touch the result of their work. Scratch is nice, but after a few lessons, you get bored by it. You need something that attracts kids and make it very nice to them. And this is hardware. Whatever we're talking about hardware, it involves money. And the question is, who is putting this money? And as you know, our countries are not the
richest.
the scarcity of the population. Lots of our citizens cannot afford that. So basically, it's a decision of the state at some point if they want to have a strategy that will lead us in a few years to be somewhere up in this field of robotics or not, because we need to make the investment now. If we do it in 5 years, we already lost the train. I will also give you an example, and I'm going to shut up. I know I talk a lot. An example, Romania supposedly has the best internet in the world. At least for a few years, we had the best internet in the world. But that was because we made the leapfrog, and we skipped one stage of the internet, and we had now the line connections and everything that made us better. I believe robotics can be one of the fields where we can make this leap, but only if we do it now. Again, if we do it in 5 years, we will have lost the train. Service robots are just in the beginning right now. If you start a company of service robots now, you have bigger chances to become known or to come up with something new than in 5 or 10 years when there will be lots of startups and companies doing the same thing.
As a final note, I would also ask Christo and Zoran to share a success story of a customer of yours or in the country. Christo, we've discussed with you that in Bulgaria, we have such pick-and-place operations, which even guys in the UK have never seen. Can you share a success story you've seen in Bulgaria or you've developed for a client?
Of course, there are many small successes, frog leaps, let's say, which are creating exactly the perception of robots. But I'm sharing this many times, this example of robotized brick factory, where because of the implementing robot, they increased productivity, increased quality, and decrease power consumption. Very simple. They just implement one robot and they saw the results immediately. So return on investment in this case was not based only on labor cost, but there are many other benefits out of the implementation of the robot. So basically, this is a good point to discuss about good stories. We need to discuss about return of investments, but again, we need to look more broadly as this example, not to look only to save labor cost in implementation of robots or automation.
Zoran, can you share a success story as well from Serbia?
Yes, actually I can. Well, I will share a story which is a little bit more general, not particular. I was thinking about some artificial intelligence solution in cement factory, which is actually soft sensors, very cool, very modern, things like that. But there is something else. I think biggest success story in my region, I'm speaking about Vojvodina, north of Serbia, is actually connection with faculty, my faculty of technical science, biggest engineering school in the region with 15,000 students and 100 study programs. Our biggest success stories are more than 100 spin-off companies in area of engineering. And I am very free to say that all creative engineering jobs in North Serbia actually are in some kind of connection with the university, with the faculty. So some of those companies are rather huge now. We have at least 3 companies with 1,000 engineers employed in Novi Sad. We are exporting in software more than Serbian raspberries, which is our main export product in food, with agriculture. And I think the main success story from my region, from my faculty, from my university is actually those spin-off companies that have collaboration, that is symbiosis between research, between knowledge and pure engineering. We measured a couple of months ago, actually before Corona times, and we are assured that 90% of all IT and engineering companies in region of Vojvodina have some kind of collaboration with the faculty. And actually, from my perspective, from my personal perspective of my colleagues, this is the biggest success story in our region. Thank you.
Short success story as a final note.
Well, the biggest success story in Romania is UiPath. And not necessarily because it's a Romanian company, but because of the impact it had. The robotic software is being used a lot everywhere in the world right now, and it made us realize how easy it is to automatize software process. And for example, the license for 1 year, it's around 1,000 something euro, which is around one salary. If you use that in an accounting office, you save the work of one person who is not looking and doing repetitive stuff, but can do other more complex tasks. So basically, it's I see it as a success, not only for how big the company got to be, but also because of how much it helped promote the idea of automatization in the software process.
Gentlemen, I'd like to thank you very much for your participation in this panel. Personally, I didn't feel when the time passed by. I think you were really insightful, really honest, and I think the perspectives you shared were really valuable. So thank you again very much for your participation.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the initiative.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dear viewers, please stay tuned for what is now about to be a demonstration of one of FANUC's latest solutions and how it can help any industry actually grow further and enhance its capabilities. Stay tuned with us.